Klika here. I'm the Director of Athletics at Fitness Quest 10. And when we're working with a lot of our older and younger athletes, and we even throw this to the everyday clients because it's just good movement, you know, we teach our linear speed, we teach our deceleration, but then any good effective athlete has got to be able to move in any direction, multi-directional, so forward, sideways, backwards, diagonally. We want to teach, and that's a learned skill to move in those ways. So the first thing that we do with any of our athletes to teach that lateral motion is we teach them a lateral lunge. The reason we start with a lunge, we start from the stop position, a static position, is because one of the limiting factors of moving across the body or moving diagonally is mobility of the hips. A lot of young and old athletes are unable to actually do a lateral lunge because of tight adductors, a lot of different reasons. So the way we start with our lateral lunge, we start with our legs apart and we'll shift our weight over one leg. Now watch how this happens. My weight's going to come over the leg. Notice how both toes stay forward, and this is important because once my toes change direction, it changes the whole orientation of my hip, so I'm using different muscles. So I want to keep my toes forward. I'm going to drop down, this leg goes straight, hips go back, knees here, my glute is actually going to be, my butt's going to actually be outside my knee. I'm going to come down, weights over my whole foot here, chest is up, right here just like that. And I should be able to hold this and step together. Hold that and step together. And then I'm going to go out the other way. Notice, and you're going to get a lot of athletes wanting to put that hip out. And a lot of that's just because of weakness and tightness, the adductors, issues with the glutes as well. So we come down, head up, chest up, weights evenly distributed. Don't let this happen and don't let this happen. Weights over the whole foot, chest is up. You should be able to read their numbers or read the emblem on their shirt. Stepping together, stepping out, stepping together. So that's the first thing we're going to teach. Now we got to add movement to it. So we're going to teach a lateral march. And all this is going to do is going to teach how to move, but also how to put force into the ground when we go in multiple different directions. So I'm going to start just from a sideways position in a march. I'm going to drive my leg up, my knee goes out my opposite shoulder. Now, with young kids, this is tough to teach, but in an ideal world, my ankle is going to be everted as well. So knee to opposite shoulder, hit the ground on the inside of the foot. Hit the ground on the inside of the foot. Chest stays tall. Now, anytime you're doing a march, you want to watch for this. What we're talking about there is you're going to have a weak hip flexor or an inability to get a leg drive, and that's not good. So you want that full extension coming up. Drive. Opposite knee, knees goes opposite shoulder, drive down, arm action the whole time, staying tall. Just a march, going back the other way. Notice knees driving to opposite shoulder, and drive, and drive. This takes a lot of repetitions. They're not going to get this in 2 little 10-yard marches. First couple weeks to work with an athlete, beginner, professional, we're going to be doing a lot of marches. So now we got the marches down, we're going to add a skip. And all a skip does is adds a dynamic component, but also teaches where and how hard to hit the ground. A lot of athletes are afraid to hit the ground with their feet because too many coaches for too long have talked about soft feet on the ground. We don't want soft feet on the ground. We want good, hard foot contact. Your body works like a bouncy ball, and all my athletes have heard me say this millions of times. If you want to see a bouncy ball bounce far, it's got to hit the ground hard to get enough energy to fly up. The same thing happens with the dynamics of my body. So if I'm going to skip, I don't want my athletes skipping here. I want them driving their foot through the ground. So I'm going to just add that little hop to my march and skip. I'm going to hit the ground. Notice where I hit the ground, slightly underneath my center of gravity here. Hit, opposite, hit, skip, hit, skip, hit. Notice keeping my chest up. That's one thing you got to look for, keeping your chest high. Driving to the ground, keeping your chest high. Just like that. So now you got that movement. We're able to actually move laterally. Now we got to change direction. And this is one of the tougher things to teach just because our neural system is so used to only running forward. So many coaches work mostly on running forward and backward. So we're going to start back in our lateral lunge position. And to be able to change direction when you're running laterally, you have to be able to weight shift very quickly and effectively. So we're going to start here. I'm going to start with my weight over my left leg, and I'm going to switch over to my right leg. And if I'm coaching this, I'm going to clap or give them a cue to switch back and forth. Notice I'm here, My weight transfers very clean, boom, very fast, very clean. Once they get that down with perfect technique, which means they can't arc their back, then we're gonna add a movement component to it. So if they're here, we're gonna add a cross-body step. So we're gonna drive across their body, ready to go back the other way. Drive across their body, ready to go back the other way. Now, to break this down, my weight's here. I'm gonna drive my knee across my body, land, and I'm already ready to go back. So I'll be here, drive, land, ready to go back. Drive, land, ready to go back. So that's the beginning of our progression. If you're working with young athletes, if you just start with those basic movements and get them perfect with those movements, you're gonna be able to teach them a lot more advanced skills on down the road. For these drills and others, please refer to our website, www.fitnessquest10.com.